Water. Rain falling from the sky. Rain even changes color under certain conditions. But what about rain that's not quite water? Rain that's made of living things also falls from the sky. Potentially paranormal jelly also falls from the sky. Hell, one time meat fell from the sky. And what about that one time that so much yellow rain fell from the sky that the United States government thought the Soviet Union made a new chemical weapon? In this video, I'll be discussing all of these topics and hopefully explaining their origin and impact. So join me today as we discuss history's non-water rains. Hello there. My name is Pigspoolive, and this is History with Pigspoolive. I would very much appreciate if you would like, comment, share, and subscribe, as this video took me 4 whole recordings to redo and make it to your liking. I would appreciate it if you would show this video and this channel some love. I will also be showing images here. Future Pigspoo should be handling that pretty well. Are you handling it, Future Pigspoo? Man, I'm really trying. Thank you, Future Pigspoo. Now, let's get on with the video. The first of these non-water rains is animal rains, and these are when animals fall from the sky. Usually it's fish, but others have been documented, and I will go through those. In the 1st century, there was a Roman named Pliny the Elder who documented fish and frogs falling from the sky. This is potentially the earliest documentation of animal rain, but the latest example is as close as last year, 2023. So among these animal rains, let's talk about fish rains. Like I said, the earliest documented fish rain was in the 1st century. Fish rains are actually the most common animal rain. They occur up to 4 times a year in the district of Lloro in Honduras. The people of Lloro actually have a festival for the event called Lluvia de Peces, or Rain of Fish. This festival has been happening since 1998, and it comes with a full carnival and parade. So essentially, the people of Lloro saw fish raining from the sky and they were like, huh, that's neat. And then after it kept happening more often, and then on a year-by-year basis, they were like, we gotta make a festival out of this. And more power to them for celebrating these fish. There's actually a legend related to the origin of this fish, and it goes like this. The people of Lloro were starving. It was a time of famine, and a Christian priest came to the region, and he prayed for 3 long days and nights. And after he was finished praying, a dark cloud came over Lloro, and from there, fish started to fall from the sky, feeding the starving villagers. And it's happened every year since then. It's thought by scientists that the way that the fish get carried so far is that water spouts launch the fish into the air, and then the wind catches them and carries them all the way to Lloro. But this doesn't actually explain how a fish get carried 45 miles from the nearest ocean all the way to Lloro in the same spot up to 4 times every year. There is no legitimate answer to this particular fish rain that occurs in Lloro, and if that's not a good argument for Christianity, I don't know what is. What does your God do? Well, actually, moving on from fish, but still in the category of animal rains, we have spider rains. Yeah, spider rains. It makes me want to curl up into a little ball and cry every time I hear about it. Luckily, they usually happen in Brazil and Australia. Sorry for my Australian and Brazilian viewers. Spider rain is when at least thousands and at most millions of spiders simultaneously fall from the sky and cover an area in their creepy little bodies. While spider rain is potentially millions of spiders, this actually does happen on a smaller scale on a daily basis all around the globe. So how do spiders do this? Well, whenever a disaster like a flood or a fire happens, these spiders do a technique called ballooning. And ballooning is whenever a spider climbs up to a local high area and starts spinning a web like a parachute. And the wind ends up catching the parachute and it lifts the spiders off, and they travel for potentially hundreds of miles. Usually this is only small spiders, not tarantulas, thank God. An example of a disaster causing this to happen is a flood in Pakistan where the natives noticed millions of spiders fly up into the sky and just float away. But it was noted that eventually the spiders did actually come back, much to the locals' delight, as they actually ate the invasive mosquito population that came with the flood. And due to events like this, it is actually thought by scientists that this is good for the environment. It actually keeps the life cycle in balance, as birds eat flying spiders and flying spiders eat mosquitoes and invasive insects that come to the area. The next animals in the animal reign category are frogs and toads, and these have been documented as falling from the sky for millennia all around the world. This occurrence is fairly similar to fish rain, although it is a lot more visceral. As such, I will not be showing any images of it. The way this happens is frogs get caught in waterspouts and get launched up into the air, and the wind catches them and they fall on unsuspecting areas. This is only able to happen due to the frog's sheer tiny weight, as the average weight of a frog is less than an ounce. It's not actually known when these poor creatures die during this whole fiasco, as they could freeze to death from being so high up into the air, or they could survive the long journey and summarily explode upon hitting the ground. Since I'm not showing you a picture, I'll give you a description even the youngins among you can understand. Imagine a frog army and they come to Saitama's apartment in One Punch Man and they start wrecking his shit. And now Saitama is pissed. Now, the aftermath of what you imagine that would be is pretty similar to the aftermath of a frog rain. It's actually kind of sad when you think about it, but honestly, I feel worse for the people who have to explain to their insurance the frog-sized hole that's in their windshield. There are other cases of sea creatures like squid and jellyfish, and even earthworms falling from the sky, but these all have the same exact explanation as frogs, so I'm not going to go into much detail with those. After animal rain, we have a phenomenon where the color of actual rain turns red, and this is called blood rain. Cases of blood rain aren't as common as fish rain, but it has been documented since at least the 8th century BC. It was mentioned in the Iliad by Homer. This blood rain usually only covers a small area, but it can last up to a few days. The most famous examples of blood rain occur in the Indian state of Kerala. It occurred there once in 1957, and it was documented that the color of the rain actually changed to yellow at one point in time. The most famous occurrence was in the same state on the 25th of July, 2001. The red rain appeared after a loud thunderclap and flash of light. Apparently, soon after, the leaves on the trees in the area turned gray, shriveled up, and fell to the ground. It was even said by the locals that the wells in the area, like the ones that hold water and that are stationary and made out of stone, had actually disappeared and reappeared in a different location. That's some serious SCP shit. The rain lasted until late September with different consistencies all throughout, meaning it wasn't always a torrential downpour, and sometimes it was just a light drizzle. The color in this case had actually changed from red to yellow to green and to black. The Indian government led an investigation into the matter, and while the wells, leaves, thunderclap, and flash of light are unexplained, the rain itself actually has an explanation. Before modern times, the rain was believed to be literal blood, but with this investigation made by the Indian government, they figured out that the cause of the color was actually a green microalgae called Trentipolia annulata. This is what Trentipolia looks like naturally on a tree. It was estimated that approximately 110,000 pounds of red particles from the red rain had dropped onto Kerala. An analysis on the red particles determined that the red particles consisted mainly of heavy metals, such as copper, chromium, titanium, manganese, and nickel. Because there were these few paranormal occurrences during the rain, the locals and even people today believe that the rain came from space and is an explanation for aliens. But as I told you, there is an actual scientific explanation for the matter. Up next, we have star jelly, and I'm gonna be honest, star jelly was a huge rabbit hole. There is a surprising amount of jelly in this world that is interesting and worth talking about that is under the name of star jelly. Star jelly is a gelatinous substance that seems to appear after meteor showers. Many people believe it falls from space, hence why it's in this list. It's been seen all over the world in many different places, and it varies with color, going from blue to yellow to even white. When the star jelly is seen, it usually disappears soon after. There was one case of it in 1950, and it was found half a mile away from a production plant, and it was found by Philadelphia police officers. They reported that it was about 6 feet in diameter, and that whenever they found it, it had dissolved into a awful smelling liquid. This was actually the inspiration for the movie called The Blob. Another case was some woman finding some purplish blobs on her front lawn, and whenever police finally came, they found out that these gelatinous blobs were a byproduct from the nearby battery factory, and the only reason why they appeared gelatinous was because the woman had actually sprayed the blobs with her hose attempting to get them off. A very notable case is the Oakville blobs. This is a case where this translucent goo fell from the sky as rain, and it actually covered the streets and buildings in this goo. It was actually noted that the goo had smeared whenever people tried to wipe it off their windshields, and it got so opaque that they couldn't see through it anymore. During this whole thing, people got violently sick, and I'm talking you're fat, you have COVID, and you have lung issues already. That bad. And it was so bad, in fact, that animals actually died from the slime. Investigations were done on the goo, and it was found that it had 2 different bacteria living in it, both without nuclei. There are theories on what it could have been, but no one actually knows what it was. There's one theory that goes like the United States Air Force had actually bombed the area in jellyfish, but this isn't true, as this actually happened 50 miles away from Oakville. Yeah, bombing jellyfish. It actually happened. It's a thing. But like I said, it was 50 miles away, so it couldn't have possibly been that. And another theory is that it was airplane waste. But this was quickly debunked, as airplane waste is actually a blue color and not a translucent goo. No more samples of the Oakville blob actually exist anymore, and as such, no more research can be done to figure out what it was. So for this case of star jelly, there is no definitive answer. Another instance is the Hamwall slime at the Hamwall Nature Preserve in Somerset, England. In this case, a slime-like substance appeared in great quantities all around the preserve, and they could never figure out where it came from or what it was. There are so many examples of star jelly that I can't possibly cover all of them in this one video, so this will be the last one, I promise. On the 3rd of November 1996, a meteor shower rained over Kempton, Tasmania. It was reported by the locals the next morning that there was a jelly-like substance covering the whole area. Now onto the 5 main theories of what star jelly is. 1. It's space slime from space. It appears after meteor showers constantly, and everybody thinks it's from space. 2. It's the vomit made up of dead frogs that are partially digested and vomited up from their natural predators. This is an actual thing that happens, as seen here with frog oviducts and eggs vomited from some unknown creature. In a research by scientists commissioned by the National Geographic Society, they couldn't find any DNA in their samples of star jelly. 3. It's a type of algae known as nostoc, which actually turns into a jelly-like substance. 4. It's a slime mold, which is essentially a group of tiny organisms that group together so much that normally they are naked to the invisible eye, but from the sheer amount of them, they are visible to the naked eye, and they actually get quite big, as seen here. These do actually have many different colors, ranging from very vibrant colors like yellow all the way to a darker brown. 5. It's waste from industrialization, which some cases actually are, as I told you earlier. In my personal opinion, I think all of the above is star jelly. Like, all of these are just classified as star jelly, but they're all actually different things that happen. Now I can finally move on from star jelly. This one took way too long. Meat shower. What image just popped into your head? Perhaps a naughty video you watched last night while under your sheets. Well, the image you should have thought of was literal meat raining from the sky. This was an event that occurred in Bath County, Kentucky on March 3rd, 1876. A poor woman named Mrs. Crouch was making soap on her porch when she noticed a loud slapping sound. Then she looked up and saw meat raining from the sky. There wasn't any actual rain along with it, it was literally just meat. The shower lasted for many minutes between the hours of 11 a.m. and 12 p.m., with the size of the meat being 2 by 2 inches and the largest size being 4 by 4 inches. Apparently, the meat appeared to be beef, although bystanders actually tasted the meat and determined it to be either lamb or deer. It was a different time. The Newark Scientific Association tested the meat and concluded that it was the lung tissue of either a horse or a human infant. Two very different things. There was a further analysis done on the meat, and it was determined that 2 chunks were lung tissue, 3 chunks were muscle tissue, and another 2 chunks were cartilage. There was another case of a meat-like substance falling over London. Couldn't actually find anything on it, just a reference that it actually happened. There's only one prominent theory on how this occurred, and the locals and scientists both agree on it, and it goes like vultures were up in the sky, and one of them vomited, and as such, the rest of them vomited because it is a defense measure that they actually do. All this meat that they vomited fell from them and got caught in the wind and was thrown all the way over Bath County until it finally fell. But a reporter on the scene made a theory that it was nostoc, which I actually already talked about in the star jelly section. I can't get away from star jelly. Here's something that's not actually star jelly, and it is the longest portion of the video. We have yellow rain. The year is 1975. The Vietnam War is raging on between the Soviet Union alongside the Democratic Republic of Vietnam against the United States and the Republic of Vietnam. Now, use your imagination again, and imagine being a villager in either Laos or North Vietnam. Now picture an absolutely huge cloud of yellow sticky liquid coming down from the sky and landing on you and your whole village. Now imagine majority of the people you know, your family and the villagers, are now seizing, bleeding, and walking around blind. You can stop imagining now, but know that this actually happened and was an event that some refugees lived through that went to the American lines. Makes you wonder why the US thought the Soviet Union had a new chemical weapon, huh? The same style event was reported during the Vietnamese invasion of Cambodia in 1978. In 1981, the United States Secretary of State Alexander Haig made an announcement in Berlin telling the world, quote, and I'll read this off for you, quote, "For some time now, the international community has been alarmed by continuing reports that the Soviet Union and its allies have been using lethal chemical weapons in Laos, Cambodia, and Afghanistan. We have now found physical evidence from Southeast Asia, which has been analyzed and found to contain abnormally high levels of 3 potent mycotoxins, poisonous substances not indigenous to the region and which are highly toxic to man and animals." End quote. The official Soviet response to these allegations was, "No, you suka," which is actually true, as the US did in fact use chemical weapons during Vietnam. Agent Orange. These allegations caused a United Nations response investigation into the matter, which found that the Soviets may have used a chemical weapon, but there was no real evidence found. Another investigation was done by a man named C.J. Marocha from the University of Minnesota. He was specifically looking for trichothecene mycotoxins, which is basically a type of poison that is naturally produced, although rarely. The specific trichothecene mycotoxins he was looking for was T2, DAS, and DON. With this investigation, he stated in a report that, quote, "The finding of T2, HT2, and DAS toxins in blood, urine, and body tissues of alleged victims of chemical warfare in Southeast Asia provides compelling proof of the use of trichothecenes as unconventional warfare agents. Additional significant findings lie in the trichothecenes found in the leaf samples and yellow powder. The most compelling evidence is the presence of T2 and DAS in the yellow powder. Both toxins are infrequently found in nature and rarely occur together. In our experience, copious producers of T2 toxin do not produce DAS, and conversely, good producers of DAS do not produce T2. End quote. Similar events to the previously mentioned one actually occurred in India in 2002 and in Bulgaria in 2015. This was particularly scary for the Bulgarians as they had just recently publicly denounced the Russians and their interference in the Ukraine situation. Just before the invasion of Iraq in 2003, the US government actually claimed that Iraq held the same or similar T2 mycotoxin weapons in their armories. This, of course, was a lie and was just meant to garner support and justification for their invasion. Now you're probably wondering what this chemical weapon was. Well, it was the bees. it was the damn bees. Those bees and their communist ways. A biologist named Matthew Misselson actually went to Laos himself and conducted an investigation. He found that these trichothazine mycotoxins were naturally produced in the area. He suggested that the yellow rain was actually fecal matter from the local honeybee population. To show his evidence, he found pollen on leaves in the same way that the yellow rain would have been. The yellow raindrops were consistent with the pollen and had different types of plant matter inside, although all from the same local area. He took these findings to the US government, and the government said that the Soviets put pollen into the weapon to make it easier to breathe in. And thus, the United States government once again plugged its ears and yelled. Typical. You should also know that mycotoxin poisoning is fairly common in Southeast Asia and Indochina even today. So unless the Russians are actively dropping this yellow rain chemical weapon there monthly and in the same area, then it's not a chemical weapon. Overall, these are odd occurrences. Some explained, some not. There's plenty of weird things that already happen in this world, and a good majority of them are natural occurrences. A very interesting topic. I still don't know what was with that stuff with the blood rain. This whole thing really was a rabbit hole, especially the star jelly. I found out about the meat shower on Twitter, and from then I went on and I found a list of odd occurrences, and then I found another list, and then I found star jelly, and then I found all the occurrences of star jelly, and then all the theories, and there was just so much stuff with it. It was such a rabbit hole, like insane. So if you want me to cover more odd occurrences like this, let me know and comment about it, and I'll read them, and if I have enough, I'll make a video on them. I'm working on another longer style video. I hope you'll check it out whenever I'm done with it. I won't spoil what it is, but I'm also thinking about making another video here soon about the use of psychological warfare in Vietnam, and I might even expand that to the rest of the world and throughout history. So let me know if you want me to make a video on that. No 8-minute monologue this time. I'm cutting it short, but check out my Castle Eater video. It'll be linked up here, and it'll also be linked in the end screen if you want to check it out. Check out my gaming channel called Pigspoo, just Pigspoo. I'll link that in the description as well. I have Lethal Company on there. I have horror games on there. I'm trying to make a horror game video at least every 3 days, so stay tuned for more of that. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I had recording it, editing it, and researching it. It was fun. But please like, comment, share, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you want to donate, I have a Patreon. It's in my channel links. Everything is in my channel links. My Discord, Instagram, Twitter, Patreon, other channels, everything is in there. It's on my front page of my YouTube channel, so check that out. With that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Bye!